This two-part video is going to be a pretty advanced mastering lesson. I'm going to cover one of the few real secrets, so to speak, of mastering, which is band selective compression, which is not multiband compression, and it's not like anything else. And I will also briefly talk about the overuse nowadays of multiband compression, which is very misunderstood in mastering, and why instead band selective compression is a lot better in most cases, but you don't see this subject talked about out there pretty much by anyone for several reasons. One, because up until not long ago, the only way to implement this technique correctly was to have one specific unit, which was about 10 grand. So not many people in the world had hands-on experience with that specific unit. The interesting thing is that this unit wasn't analog, it was hardware, but was 100% digital. And because of that, only recently, finally, we have a plugin that is line by line, code by code copied from that unit. And it's the Vice DS1 MK3. Now, before you say anything, this is not a sponsored video. In fact, half of it is going to be available for everybody on YouTube. The second half is going to be for members only, because this is the real stuff. The unit and the plugin, which is a one-to-one, is a very deep unit and very difficult to use. Hence, you don't see this much around. But here today, I will show you one of the many advanced techniques that you can put in your arsenal for mastering. Let's get to the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixbusTv. Hope you're having a great day. Before we start, please check the info box down below for my mixing courses on ProMix Academy, free plugins, discounts, special offers, and of course, if you want to support the channel, but most important, access to the all-new in-depth mix and mastering video content that is not available anywhere else, members only, exclusive. Click the join button down here, see all the perks of becoming a MixbusTv member, which includes mix consultations with me via Skype or email. Let's go. First of all, let's take a listen to the track that I'm gonna use, and then I will explain you why I picked this one.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'm a rider till my fucking time's out, so I gotta make it. It's do or die now.
Okay, you get the idea. The reasons because I picked this one are multiple. One, you can see from the waveform that the kick and the snare are pretty tall peak-wise, okay? So we have a pretty dynamic mix, and you also see that here the dynamics goes down. So this is a pretty common scenario. The crest factor in this case is not that great. The mix sounds really good, but the crest factor, thinking of mastering, so limiting and compressing, these tall peaks will be your ceiling. Those are the ones that will start distorting first, and those are the ones that will stop you, that will prevent you from pushing the track over a certain limit. Whether or not you are for the loudness war, this is not about it, okay? This is just technical. The second reason is because this track is bass heavy. And bass heavy content, bass heavy material is what tasks compressors and limiters, because the low end energy is the first one that starts to distort. It's a lot easier to limit a snare. Maybe you will lose a little bit of punch, but for the most part, with different techniques, you can get away even knocking down 5, 6, 7 dBs and be fine with that. Low end information is not that easy. Kick drums and bass are a lot harder to limit in a transparent way. And this mix has both, has a big low end and a big kick that it spikes out of the dense part of the mix a lot. So this is a pretty common scenario. And like I said, this is a good sounding mix, but let me cover what you don't do when you want to bring a mix like this, or any mix for what matters, to level. What you don't do is just slap a limiter on it like many people do and knock all those peaks down until you reach the RMS level that you want. So that would be something like this.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'm a rider till my fucking time's out, so I gotta make it. It's do or die now.
Okay, you see, even on a mix like this, I'm limiting so much that is already distorting, and you really are a -8, which is loud, but first of all, I'm already distorting, okay? And second, it's loud, but it's not crazy loud. I consistently hit -7, -6, -5, depending on the mix, LUFS for mastering clean. So this doesn't work. This is not how you master. Don't slap a limiter on it and hope for the best and knock as much peak as you can. Now, some people here would grab a multiband compressor, which could be a choice, but many people out there, especially amateur, would grab a multiband compressor because they heard that you have. It's unfortunately because of all the shit that is on YouTube, all the shit that is online that says that, oh, you need a multiband compressor in mastering or you need a mid-side processing on mastering, which are really not that commonly used in mastering by professionals. And those are tools that for the most part are used when there is a problem in the mix that cannot be fixed otherwise, because they come with artifacts, both mid-side processing, especially EQ, not compression, and multiband compression. Multiband compression, why? Because it will change a lot your mix, and sometimes you have no choice because you can't fix whatever problem you have, or you can't make it sound the way you want in any other way. But multiband compressor, like for example the C6, first of all, it colors the sound, but it doesn't color the sound like a nice analog unit. It colors the sound and it changes the sound of the mix by default, because every crossover, and we have here 6 bands, will have a phase shift at the corner frequency, at every corner frequency. So in that corner frequency, there's going to be a phase cancellation. Might be minimal, but you start using 4, 5, 6 bands, it's going to change your mix. How? It's to be seen, is food for another video. But and might be not that noticeable, but it's there. There is a cancellation. Now, experienced mastering engineers will set those crossover points, those crossover frequencies, so that they work for us instead of against us, okay? But again, this is a subject for another video. The other option is to use, one of my favorite, by the way, a linear phase multiband. And my favorite is still the linear phase multiband from Waze. I use this pretty often in my mastering when I master for clients, as opposed to a regular multiband compressor, which I use in mixing. Almost never in mastering, unless we're talking hardware, but that's another story. So linear phase compressors don't have that problem because the crossovers are linear phase, so there's no phase shift. They are a lot more transparent, and I like them very much for mastering. So I would prefer that in mastering if I was to use a multiband compressor. But a multiband compressor in this case, it simply reduces the dynamic and the power, the volume, so to speak, in this case, of a given frequency. You want to use a multiband compressor here because the low end is really big, is really powerful, is dense, so it prevents you from clipping, limiting the entire tracks to bring it to the level that you want, okay? You're basically taking away energy from that range. Let me show it to you.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found.
Okay, as you can see, this is my starting presets for the linear phase multiband. So you see I'm lowering the threshold, all the bands by the same amount. And the first 2 bands, they were start compressing, and actually they were compressing a little bit already, even with the threshold at 0, where the low end and the low mid.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never.
You see this curve already? The low end and low mid is getting compressed. And in fact, if you listen to the track, we lose power, we lose low end.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be.
Okay, this will definitely help giving us headroom because there's not that much power in the low end. But that's easy. You could do it with an EQ. You can take that energy away and you create headroom. Doing this will definitely ease the work of a limiter, right? So let's do that.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found.
So with the linear phase on, we're not distorting, we are not limiting those big kick drum and 808 too much, but is a lot less powerful, the mix. Without it, we are getting the full band, but it's distorting, it starts distorting, okay? So how we, as we professionals, do master tracks like this and bring them to high levels without distorting. This is actually the mix of a track that I mastered for a client. Of course, there are several techniques, but what I'm talking about today is band selective compression, which is done with the Vase DS1 MK3. Why only this specific machine and this specific plugin in this case? Well, for two reasons. One, because it has been used by top mastering engineers for decades, and that is the sound that we are used to hear. And second, because as far as I know, there's no other plugin, there's no other unit that does what the DS1 MK3 does, not just for the amount of control that gives you on the track, and not just for the precision with which you can work with this unit, but specifically, in this case, when we talk about band selective compression, because of the transparency of the filters, when you do band pass or low pass or high pass with this band selective compression, and also in this case, when you combine that with the parallel compression function on this plugin. If you take away the transparency of the filters, that would be impossible because it would be a big mess. Before going into detail and explaining, let me set this one up quickly for this track and playing something for you, you will immediately hear the difference.
Ain't no sunshine on it. Be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is tainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta watch my back, I'm in danger. Used to be homie, some changed up, hard working, not a sailor, just caked up. I made up my mind, I gotta get the bag. Shorty, I am not the one, so don't you get it.
All right, you hear? Now I'm compressing that low end pretty much like it would be with a multiband compressor, right?
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town.
Check this out.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is tainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta watch my back, I'm in danger. Used to be.
Okay, so now I have that range compressed 3 to 4 dB, but you hear I'm not losing the power. And actually, if I want, I can push it a little more. And of course, you can see we have different filters here. The de-essing type, the band pass type, and high cut, so the low pass. So the tricks that you can do with this are not limited to the low end, of course. Let me play this to you one more time.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is tainted.
In addition to that, we can use this with the parallel compression function, which is again different from what you are used to. The simple parallel compression that I personally don't like in mastering, I don't even like on the Mixbus, but this is a completely different beast. So let me put the makeup gain back to 0 now. This is the key. You will see in the second part of the video, the makeup gain and how you set it, and if you use the parallel compression or not. So same settings, but in parallel. Without.
Ain't no sunshine on this side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it. It's do or die now, and my soul is tainted. Should've been out by now, running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like I gotta watch my.
Magic, right? But it's not. It's actually, like I said, technique. And these are the things that will make you a better engineer, is studying. And of course, you can do the same, for example, for the high end. So let's try that really quick.
Ain't no sunshine. side of town. You could get lost and never be found. Fuck it, I'ma ride out till my fucking time's out. So I gotta make it, it's do or die now. And my soul is tainted, should've been out by now. Running out of patience, losing my mind now. Feel like
Are you listening the top end, how it opens up and the detail is brought up and the low level information and all the details of the hi-hat and the vocal in that range are clearer and the mix is more open? I'm not using EQ, I'm not using saturation, and this is the power of band selective compression. So this is the first part of this video, which is available for everybody. If you want to see part 2 and actually learn a couple of techniques, click the join button down here, become a MixbusTv member. You can access all the existing members only video posts, and also, like I said, having mixed consultations with me via Skype or email depending on the tier. If you're gonna stop here, I hope this video was useful. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like and share. Follow MixbusTv on Instagram and Facebook. There's a lot of exclusive content in there as well. Pictures, news, giveaways, and I pop up here and there live on Instagram while I'm working, so you get a sneak peek of my sessions. I usually take a couple of questions if I can. Check my artist Bella Kelly debut video Throat. Link is gonna be down below, already 600,000 views. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell. Helps the channel a lot. Stay safe. See you next time.
Hands on my neck, hands grip my throat. Lift me up.